Boy, mitä kuuluu kaikille? Mä oon nyt Santa Monica Ranella. Aallot on niin pieni. Tämä on paras paikka Los Angelesissa. Santa Monica on oma kaupunki, ei osa Los Angelesissa. Ja sä voi katsoa pieni vuori, Santa Monica vuori. Ja kaupunki on lähellä. Nyt mä haluan puhua englanniksi. So today I want to talk about how to persevere at Finnish, another language, or your chosen endeavor. Now the biggest misconception about perseverance is that it comes from showing up, or it comes from just be consistent. If you're not showing up, if you're not doing the work, if you're not putting in maybe at least 45 minutes a day, then you have to ask yourself, do you really believe that this is going to work out? Because the reason why you're not putting in the effort is not because you're lazy, not because you don't have discipline, not because you're not showing up, but because you don't believe the outcome is going to happen. So you have to get to that 100% conviction, or very close to 100% conviction. Now, the second reason why people don't pursue at Finnish or their chosen endeavor is because they see the language as a transaction. I want you to imagine Finnish or your chosen target language as a living, breathing organism. So if I imagine Finnish as something that's living and breathing, I'm going to treat it like a human. And you just imagine your target language watching you study. And if you actually visualize this living, breathing organism of a language watching you do the work, what do they think about you? Do they think you really want this? Do they think that you're very serious about learning the language? Because it's very easy to detach yourself from the very human interdimensional consciousness aspect of learning a language if you're just seeing a language as its rational parts and pieces. Because a language has been spoken by hunter-gatherer people for hundreds of thousands of years. So you have to see a language as inherently human. And this is going to require some breach of rational consciousness. You're going to have to look into interdimensional layers to imagine your target language as a living, breathing organism. What's it thinking about you? And once you do that, once you see the language as something that's actually looking after you, think of it as a metaphysical hug. Once you see that the language is looking after your interests, then you're going to believe and you're going to know that the language will provide you opportunities to succeed. So if you're having a really difficult moment with the language, like there's something you can't figure out, for example, with Finnish, it's very difficult to understand fast-spoken speech because that's in puhekieli, not kirjakieli, which is the written language versus the spoken language. So it might be really hard for you to understand fast-spoken speech. And if you believe that there's interdimensional Finnish consciousness looking after you, then that interdimensional consciousness will provide you the gift to figure out all your struggles. So just know that when you're learning a language and you want to persevere, that there are living, breathing organisms looking after you that represent your target language. The third aspect of perseverance for learning your target language or your chosen endeavor is an understanding of emotional contracts. Now, most people, as they go into adulthood, they tend to overinflate their emotional contracts. They start accumulating fluff all around them, things that require maintenance, things that require attention, things that require obligation. So an emotional contract is a person, place, idea, or philosophy that takes up space in your consciousness and occupies your day-to-day thoughts. So these emotional contracts are draining your mental energy. So in regards to learning Finnish, if you're not doing the work, that means there's competing emotional contracts taking away your energy from believing that Finnish is going to work out for you. Emotional contracts were the #1 reason my Finnish journey did not work out at all for my first year. And I struggled off and on. I took 3 italki online speaking lessons here, skipped a few months, watched some Finnish media, took more speaking lessons, and then gave up for a few months. And I didn't get serious about learning Finnish until September of 2022, when I took a psychedelic trip, and that psychedelic trip told me that Finnish was the endeavor of all endeavors. And I just instantly dropped all my competing emotional contracts. Now, Chris, you're talking about emotional contracts. I need some examples here. So what I was working on when I was a digital nomad in Mexico, thinking about learning Finnish, but not serious about it yet, I wanted to scale my architectural drafting business, for one thing, which, looking back, I never wanted that in the first place. It was more of a rationalization to finance my traveling through other countries. If I really wanted to start a remote architectural drafting business, I would have stayed put in Mexico and scaled up and hired people right then and there. I wouldn't have traveled from Mexico to Curacao to Miami, then DC, New York, Finland, Estonia, and then Tbilisi in Georgia. So sometimes your actions are the best evidence of how much you want some of your other competing emotional contracts. Most people think that they're supposed to jump on every single opportunity that they come across, but quite the opposite happens. Once you start closing out opportunities and putting more of your mental energy and time into as few things as possible, that's when you succeed at that one thing. That's how I got 2,000 hours of the Finnish language in 2 years. And it wasn't the most efficient 2,000 hours, but it was like research and development 2,000 hours. So a lot of it was very inefficient, but I figured it out and got more efficient over time. So keep in mind your other emotional contracts and consider the ones you can eliminate to reach success in Finnish or your chosen endeavor or other target language. The 4th factor in persevering at Finnish, your target language, or your chosen endeavor is understanding what's interesting to you. A lot of people think that when they learn Finnish, they have to start with the apps, they have to start with learner podcasts on YouTube. There's a lot of learner channels, and some of them are very good, but you have to ask yourself, how long are learner materials going to keep my attention span? So a lot of absolute beginners, they want to be spoon-fed the language because they think they're a beginner and they have to understand everything. So they'll delay watching native level materials such as Finnish YouTubers or TV shows or podcasts. They'll delay that for years and years. I started listening to Finnish Harry Potter on day 1 of my Finnish journey. You can get that on Audible. And the good thing about Finnish Harry Potter is it's faithful to the original English version, sentence by sentence. And because Finnish is a subject, verb, object language like English, it's basically like reading subtitles, reading the English version. So all you have to do is get the English text and the Finnish audiobook, and you'll be able to follow along the Finnish. It's like reading subtitles. And if you lose your place, you can find a proper noun like Hogwarts, Hermione, Dumbledore, Hagrid. So as an absolute beginner, you're not going to lose your place following native level materials. You can learn from Harry Potter on day one if you want to. On the way here to Santa Monica, I'll show you a little view here. I was listening to Tarus Sormusten Herista, Sormusten Ritarit, which is the Finnish audiobook of Fellowship of the Ring. And it's pretty advanced. I can maybe understand 60% of it, and much less of a percentage of the chapters I haven't read yet. But I still listen to it, and even if I don't understand it, I'm still intuiting new vocabulary through context, and not understanding it inspires me to go back home and read those same chapters again with the machine translated subtitles. So you don't have to understand everything you listen to 100%. You can just go on YouTube right now and pick materials that are interesting to you. And about a month ago, Finnish got the auto-generated subtitles on YouTube. So if you're on a desktop browser, you can go to any Finnish YouTuber and select Finnish auto-generated subtitles and then auto-translate those to English. So almost every single Finnish YouTube video, you can translate the subtitles into English. So instead of thinking about what you have to do, think about what's interesting to you. Because if you do enough things that aren't that interesting to you, you have to ask yourself, how many days, how many months am I really going to keep showing up? So you have to find something that's interesting to you to stay engaged with the language. The last component to perseverance might be the most important, and it has to do with the fact that humans are very social creatures, and we tend to absorb the emotional energy of those who we surround ourselves with. Because there's no possible way that you can persevere at Finnish or your chosen endeavor if the people you surround yourself with don't even believe you that you can do it. You really have to take audit of the people you're aligning yourself with and how emotionally supportive they are about your chosen endeavor. They don't have to actually help you, but they do have to be excited, because being excited for someone else, irrespective of how it relates to you, that's really going to drive the endeavor forward. So you want people that are as fired up for you as you are about learning a language. Kiitos katsonmilla Ranalla Los Angelesissa. Ja minulla on ihan hyvä fiilis tässä kieli Suomea Los Angelesissa. Aurinko paistaa joka päivä. Jos tuntuu hyvältä, se on helppoa opin sinun kieli.